It's the Underpowered Hour. On this week's show, Chinese ripoff Defender, a twisted Suzuki Jimny, and we're joined by Jenna to talk all about the all-British field BAIC in Portland, Oregon. And now, without further delay, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm Steve Barris, mild-mannered television executive by day and Land Rover collector by night. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at thebarriscollection.com or follow us on Instagram at thebarriscollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Ike Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I'm the unprotected circuit to Steven's microfuse. I am the smoking wire of podcasting, Ike Goss. I own and operate Pangle and 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangle and 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Ike and Jenna. Jenna's joining us this week to talk a little bit about the all-British field meet. And Jenna, you're actually joining us from here.
That's true.
You're downstairs.
I'm just below you.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like this vortex of time and space that we operate in.
The phone call is coming from within the building.
Oh my God. Yeah, and Jenna's here to do some Rebel training with Liza over the course of the next week or so. Get all prepped and ready, as that's coming up real quick.
30 days as of today.
Very soon.
30 days.
Spooky amount of time. It's going to be great. But yeah, lots of exciting detail to come on the Rebel front soon. But before that, we would be remiss if we did not mention this week's Land Rover news. First up, a Chinese company, and I know you're a fan of this one, Ike, the maybe BAIC Jishi. And the Jishi, as the name implies, is essentially a clone of the new Land Rover Defender. It looks, actually from the side of the car, it is almost indistinguishable from the new Defender. The front does look a little bit different and the back looks a little bit different, but man, the side profile is really out of this world. And, interior wise, it's pretty plain on the inside, but it sure is meant to emulate, if you will, the new Land Rover Defender. What do you think, Guy?
There are certainly some design cues that are in use on the BAIC that I would say also exist on the Defender.
Yeah.
It certainly has a lot of styling that is very reminiscent of the Defender. This is not the first Land Rover clone, to come out of Asia. Not even this year.
Yeah, that's right.
We've talked about the Hyundai. Is that right? Santa Fe.
Yep, the Santa Fe.
That's very Land Rover-y. We've also talked about previously the Land Wind, which Land Rover successfully had a legal case against. So it remains to be seen whether the BAIC,
the Jishi,
whether it'll still be around.
Well, some things I like about the Jishi. First of all, the model that is using the Jishi in the advertisement, and we'll put the link in the show notes. She's wearing
a duck. So you can stalk her? What?
So you can stalk her, yeah. She's, no, I'm not her specifically. She's wearing a duck hunting vest, but no other camping stuff. I like that's the one piece that they're like, now she looks like she's camping. But in all seriousness, the Jishi's back door is actually pretty interesting. It has a tiny little sink, or at least a little faucet for water. It has what appears to be a cooktop in that the duck hunter, she's doing some cooking on it, although I don't actually see where that is. It has a couple of electrical outlets, and it has a really neat fold-down table. And I believe it has a little, almost what looks like a coffee table that is strapped to the underside of it as well. So it's actually kind of a neat, like, little utility area on the back door.
So are these features that you would consider incorporating into your Defender?
Yeah, I think, Land Rover missed an opportunity there.
Would you say that you are considering a Jishi clone?
I think so. I think the Jishi, to clone the Jishi, yeah, that's not a bad idea.
It's like an Inception situation where a Land Rover is copied by a Chinese car, which is copied by a Land Rover, which is copied by you.
I think I like it. I think that's the only way to do it. I do. I could be full Jishi, I think. If it comes with that duck hunting vest, especially, and she's also got like a Bill Murray Caddyshack kind of hat going on, which I also appreciate. So I have the exact same outfit, actually. funny.
Yeah, that same outfit. It's your groundhog hunting outfit.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the knee-high boots. And it's great. Anyways, so if you're in the market for a car that you certainly can't buy here in the United States and is questionably assembled and questionably safe, but does have water and maybe a cooktop in the back door, maybe the BAIC Jishi is for you. You never know.
Made by the Beijing Automobile Works, or BAW. So, get yours today on Alibaba.
Enjoy. Yeah, it's an easy thing to get. Now, in other news, and I know this is a combination of two of our absolutely favorite things. Ike, we know you are a huge fan of the folks at Twisted Automotive for their up to 6-inch thick body panels that you can add to the outside of your Land Rover Defender. Well, they have started doing twisted versions of the Suzuki Jimny.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you can take a Suzuki Jimny and make it the size of a regular car by simply adding external panels to just make it bigger. Make it like the back of an egg carton, just all bulgy.
Just a bunch of plastic that you add to the sides to make it wider and wider and wider.
That's exactly right. Yeah. A bunch of square salad bowls just glued on the outside.
They like Legos. Can you snap them together?
Oh, that'd be great. In fact, maybe a couple of Jimnys. If you park next to somebody, you can kind of click them together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, it gets the normal twisted treatment. They do juice the engine a little bit. They do new seats. They're just nicer. Of course, a gear level handbrake. That's all. Everything's trimmed out inside. And they also soundproof the car, which implies that maybe it isn't soundproofed from the factory. And they put on 16-inch wheels with some all-terrain tires. And then they do a performance turbo upgrade, as I mentioned, to 165 horsepower.
And there's a series of options that are listed here. You can get color-coded seatbelts.
Yep, color-coded seatbelts. That's important.
Which I assume means that the color matches some other aspect of the car. Not really sure.
I guess so. Yeah. You can delete the bulkhead, occasional rear seats, which is an interesting
you can
option.
Delete structural components of the car. I see that here.
Twisted mountain scene decals. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. A lifetime supply of Twisted Tea.
Yeah, a lifetime supply of Twisted Tea.
Twisted Tea, yes. Yeah. Jenna with the jokes out of nowhere. Twisted leather trim, privacy glass, Alcantara. I don't even know what that means. Headlining.
Oh, yeah, the Alcantara.
Do you know what that means?
I have no idea, no.
No idea. No one knows. Full exterior satin paint finish.
Oh, yeah, you got to have that.
Do they just satin clear coat the outside? Is that what that is?
They just hit it with a mist, as you go out, as you leave.
Just a bunch of dry spray out of a paint gun.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. I got to say, I wish every car had a mountain scene decal package as an option. I'd like that. Like the old Discovery. Remember, it used to have the little mountains?
Yeah, I do remember that. That was actually kind of nice.
I liked it. It was pretty cool.
There's some old Discovery decals that they apply to it. Is that what
that's all it is, yeah. They bought them all from Phil Bashel, who would only sell you all 1,200 that he had.
But he only had left.
You couldn't, it was only left side. You couldn't buy it. You had to buy the whole pallet.
I wish that we got the Jimny here so that you could have aftermarket Jimnys.
Would you twist it if you had
I would little D
twist your Jimny? You'd little D it. Yeah, of course.
I mean, is there another way to do it? No. Maybe that you could get a little D twisted Defender or little D twisted Jimny, I guess.
Are you saying you twist the little D?
Yeah. I think that's exactly what I'm saying. You twist a little D.
Oh my God. I don't know. I guess. All right.
This is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
It's getting ridiculous.
On that note, so the all British field meet you guys attended this past weekend, a gathering of Land Rovers, the likes of which Portland, Oregon has rarely seen. So tell us about it. What was the weekend like? How was it? How many Land Rovers were there? And what did you guys do?
All the British were there. So
every British person in Oregon.
It's in the name, So as you would expect, they were all there. I think something like 1,000 cars were there. It's a pretty big spread. There's a ton of vehicles. I don't have the exact count, but it's huge. It's huge. And Land Rover was, as you might expect for the 75th anniversary, the featured mark. So there were some special Land Rover things, special Land Rover displays. They had an outdoor covered pub set up. So there was like a Land Rover pub, and there was an off-road jungle adventure ride. So if you didn't bring a Land Rover, you could get a ride in one through the motocross course that's at Portland International Raceway.
Oh, cool.
So they had the Land Rovers running around. That's all the proceeds for which went to charity. So that was nice.
Were those?
It was a mix. Yeah, there was some Series Defender hybrids. There was a Defender, I believe, and a Range Rover Classic. So they were running people around on the motocross course. And of course, as you would expect, for an event that happens in Portland, there was a lot of weird people. There's a lot of weird people. Yeah. Right, so absolutely. If you want to see like 20 guys in pith helmets and like safari socks and khaki outfits, they were all there. They were all there.
Weird people for Portland they're just people. They're all like that.
It's true. Every time that I go to the Portland All British Field Meet, there will be at least one mannequin dressed up as something.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
There will be, somebody that comes to the swap meet with a shopping cart from like a local store to get all their auto parts together. So they have a big swap meet, people come clean out their garages and spread it all out in the dirt, and deals are had. There's a ton of cars, some really neat cars, everything from super expensive Aston Martins to, the junkiest, rustiest Morris Minor that you've ever seen. So it really spans the range. I think there was well over 100 Land Rovers this year. And there was everything from Series 1s all the way up through, the latest and most recent Defender Special Edition. So we'll put some pictures up of some of the cars that we saw there. But really incredible event that the clubs put on. I think it's put on by the Jaguar Club, the Triumph Club, the MG Club, Land Rover Club, of course. And there might be a couple others that I'm forgetting in there. But even though I've forgotten you, I still appreciate you. There's also a big weekend of vintage racing. So there's grandstands there at PIR, and you can go watch all the vintage racing you want for free.
Nice.
So that's cool. Whether you want to see, vintage racing with like minis, zipping around, Jaguars, of course. And then their contemporary race cars also show up. So Porsches and Ford Cortinas and, whatever you want to see race that historically raced in the past, it'll be there. Everything from, Corvettes to Austin Healey's.
Wow. That's
pretty
super cool. That's super cool. What was your favorite non-Land Rover that you saw?
Non-Land Rover that I saw. There's a guy that brings a Bentley, like a 3-liter Bentley, probably like late 20s, 3-liter Bentley race car that every year. That thing's really awesome. Really like that. It's cool to see. It's kind of like the Pacific Northwest Goodwood. There's a little bit of everything that shows up there.
And everybody's dressed like they're camping.
Everybody, because a lot of people are camping. People come down from Canada. There's a big Canadian contingent. People bring all their, camping gear and trailers and whatever, and there's a big grassy area that they all camp in. It's pretty fun, and it's community oriented. There's a lot of social activity that happens. There's a barbecue, there's a dinner, there's just various things that include people, as Jenna said, a raffle earlier. So there's just a ton of stuff going on that weekend. So if you get a chance and you're in the Pacific Northwest in September next year, you should stop on by.
I'm just going to jump in and say that one of the great things that we really enjoy about the field meet is we see a lot of people every year that we go there that we may not actually see again for the next year, but it's a group of people that we overlap with or we talk to. But that is kind of a very convenient opportunity to actually get to, hang out with those people and visit with them. As Ike mentioned, there's a core contingent of Canadians that come down from the Ottawa Valley Club, Ike?
Oh, yeah.
And then...
not the Ottawa Valley. No. Ottawa Valley is in That's Eastern Canada. This is the Roverlanders. So the Roverlanders are well represented at the field meet for sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
bad
absolutely.
Canadian
I
geography.
know those guys. I know those guys well.
Yeah, and then of course we have people coming up from California. Terry Ann was there, which is always cool for her to make the trip. She's a kind of a staple of Northern California. California and Pacific Northwest Land Rover community, and did a lot of expeditioning and has written books about it. And she was there selling her book. It's a great book for anybody that doesn't have it. It's all about kind of everything you would need to go adventuring in your Land Rover, from route planning to how to do border crossings with a dog to what sleeping mat to pick to, repair and maintenance on your vehicle and just a little bit of everything. It's great. So it's always cool. Like she made it all the way up just for this event, and it's good to see her. And we actually had Tim, Camel Trevi Tim, out there.
Oh, yeah.
We saw
That's
at Anarch,
fantastic.
which was kind of funny to see on the opposite coast.
Yes.
That I would say is my favorite non-Land Rover vehicle at the swap meet. It is
Tim Hensley.
Tim Hensley on the Honda Monkey.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I have a photo. We'll post that up to Instagram of Tim riding the Honda Monkey Bike, the tiniest, bittiest little motorcycle in the world. One of my personal favorites. And he looked very pleased. Very pleased to be on that.
He was excited about it. He had fun. It did a little zip around on it. It's a great machine. But
I dare you not to smile when riding a Honda monkey bike. It is impossible.
It's very difficult. You can be very sad and ride that thing and it'll make you happy.
Yeah, it'll make you happy. Yeah, it's a natural antidepressant to that little guy.
And it just sounds kind of like the Jetsons car. Like, it's just so quiet. It's just like, it's so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of neat stuff. Tim was there. He did a speaking engagement. So that was cool to see. And then I forgot there were special guests. You know, that was a big deal. You know, he was kind enough to grace us with his presence. And then, you know, they have awards for all different classes of Land Rovers. So there's Series 1, 2, 2A, 3, you know, special vehicles like ambulances and dormobiles and that sort of thing. And then there's modified ones. So people's off-road projects and creations, monster trucks. Danny Kim was there. He brought his crazy, you know, Defender that he's been building up. It's like it's wild. It's like you know, those Japanese vans with all the wacky extensions and, you know, styling and all that stuff. It's kind of like that, all built out of aluminum. And then it's got a super slinky, you know, long travel suspension with like 40-inch tires on it and stuff. It's like a wacky buggy. And he's been working on that for years. It's diesel powered. It's really, really kind of a neat thing. So that was there. You know, actually, there was a lot of forward controls, a lot of 101s this year. There was a 101 on like 42-inch tires. It was huge.
Whoa. How do you get into that?
I don't know, but I don't know that he got out during the event.
He just stayed in there.
I also never saw it steer, so I think it only goes in a straight line.
It only goes in the straight line.
I thought it came with it had like a deployable mini trampoline that just blops out onto the ground, and you just that to
jump into that.
Off.
Like you're being rescued from a building on fire in like the 40s. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I would think he would just pull up to the second story of his house. He'd installed a door. He can just get out on the second story.
We got a picture of that thing we'll post up. It was pretty wild. There was several pretty wild forward controls, ones with diamond plate and bright orange and, you know, giant tires, and it was wacky races. That stuff was wild. And then it was nice to see some people who have been working on their projects for a long time kind of made the extra push and got them kind of out of the garage and to the show. So that was neat. Really good to see some of those folks. And then there's other folks who are just, you know, you've known them for a long time and their vehicles always seem to run, but they never do any maintenance on it. So it's nice to see that next level of deterioration in some of the vehicles. You're like, whoa, that's worse than I remembered.
It's getting worse. Wow. So you drove that here. Hey, wow. Okay. Yeah. And no, that's great. Yeah.
They did like a interesting teeter-totter sort of off-road e-display. Oh, yeah. I'm sure you've seen the teeter-totter. Where you balance the teeter-totter with a single vehicle. Yeah. Well, they had the same thing, but it had 3 vehicles. So there was 2 on each side and 1 in the center balanced, you know, on this teeter-totter assembly. It was kind of sketchy, but it was cool.
They didn't allow any little kids near it, but...
oh, yeah. They were crawling all over that thing.
No.
Yeah. And speaking of little kids, there was a ton of little kids. They have slot car racing there.
Oh, nice.
So in addition to the vintage racing, they have slot car racing for the kids. And the guy comes and sets up this huge slot car diorama, and little kids are over there racing each other pretty much all day. And,
did anybody have that little Series 1 slot car?
I didn't see that, but there was just about every other flavor of slot car there at the track. And, you know, if you're game, you can go, and you'll probably get embarrassed by like a 7-year-old, but it's pretty cool.
Those kids play for money, right?
They do, actually. I saw a kid, very serious kid, over, you know, racing over $2, but...
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And there was, in addition to that, there was quite a few RC Land Rovers that people were running around and driving over little courses of off-road obstacles and whatnot. That was pretty cool to see too.
Yeah, Ike was one of those people.
Shh.
Yeah, naturally, of course.
Quiet. No one needs to know.
But speaking of kids, it was interesting and kind of cool to see like people our age that have kids that are now driving, you know, borderline adulting, and that they are becoming like kind of the next generation of enthusiasts. Like, wow. I think legitimately, you know, you never know really, you know, as you see these kids growing up, if they're going to be into what their parents are into or not. That's but there definitely, you know, are a few of them that are there at the field meeting. You're like, wow, you're going to be super into these. You're super into them now. This is, you know, you can see that sort of fostering the next generation of enthusiasts, which I think is pretty cool because you always worry, like, you know, I feel like when we were younger, people would be like, oh, you know, it's dying out. Nobody's going to be interested in these anymore, you know, and then, you know, it's interesting just to see. It's pretty cool.
I think, you know, people now are more interested in these old cars than, you know, maybe they've ever been. I think because new cars are somewhat homogeneous, right? I mean, they all kind of have to have a lot of the same things because of safety regulations and all of that sort of stuff. So cars, generally speaking, sort of look and kind of feel more or less the same. I mean, obviously they're different and whatever, that's fine, but nothing like an old car, right? Nothing like a car you can actually work on yourself. I think there's a big movement, for makers to be restoring things and doing stuff. So no, it's fantastic. And yeah, I remember growing up that I was one of the only people that I knew that was like really into weird old stuff. Mm-hmm. And now, there's a ton of people. It's great. It's great to see that. It's really cool.
Yeah. Weird people are into weird stuff. So Portland's Portland's the place to go. Now, there were some other attendees who we know have kids who were very excited to leave them at home. Greg from Rivet Counter Restorations came down, brought his Dormobile down there, and he was like, "This is the first time in 6 years that I have not had my children with me."
Right. That's great.
He had a little too much to drink, and he was regretting Saturday. It was a little warm out there, and he was enjoying himself a little too much.
He's still in the Dormobile out there.
He's still in the Dormobile. I would not be surprised if he took his time on the return trip, but it was great to see Greg, and he brought some parts out there and brought us a real nice Dormobile, so that was cool to see.
But speaking of Dormobiles, there were a lot of Dormobiles. There were like six Dormobiles.
I saw that.
And a Carawagon.
There was quite a few.
Awesome. Actually, Tim Hensley's wife, I gave her a tour. We were talking about Dormobiles, and she was trying to understand what I was talking about with the seats and how they fold and all this stuff. And I was like, well, let's go look. And so we kind of toured all the Dormobiles, and they were all set up differently, and they're, all have been adjusted and, reconfigured slightly per their owner's preference. And so I was like, well, this is how you could set it up in the dinette, and this is the bed. And well, this one's been modified, and though that one has this thing, and that one has a wardrobe, that one doesn't have a wardrobe, but it was just cool to show her those, but also really neat to see how people have customized them. We have a Dormobile, and we do a lot of adventuring in it. And every year when we're coming home from the trip, the long drive home from Southern California to Oregon or wherever, I'm always like making lists in my head, making lists on my phone, like, I could do this. I could like modify this. I could put a drawer here. How could I make this less of a pain in the ass, basically, as we're trying to, move everything around each day and make food and put away clothes and put away camping gear. And so anyhow, it's neat to really all in one place get to see, that person built cool wood cabinets, and they do this, and they flip-flopped the kitchen to the other side or whatever. Like, it's just really special to be able to see them all at once,
Yeah, it's a pretty rare thing anywhere in the world to see that many Dormobiles in the same spot. Even in the UK, that's a pretty rare happening. And a Carawagon, I didn't even know there was a Carawagon on the West Coast. How was that?
There's more than one. I think you're right. A lot of the wooden parts, especially here in the Pacific Northwest, might have deteriorated slightly or more than slightly. I had a partial Carawagon conversion that I got out of Scappoose, Oregon a long time ago. So they're in and around and about and that sort of thing, but there's certainly not a lot of them, and the Carawagon tops don't survive in the same sort of numbers that the Dormobile tops do. The Dormobile fiberglass tops seem to be a little bit more weather resistant than the Carawagon ones, but the Carawagon ones are interesting and neat in their own ways.
They're like a Toll House cookie shed on top of your Land Rover. I really like them. I think they're cool.
They're certainly wacky. It has all the maintenance and liability of a wooden boat and a house of cards, and
it's got everything. Yeah, exactly. It's like a weird origami thing to get it to pop up, and it's great.
Yeah, it's just like bending sheet metal, and there's windows, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's like if you tried to make like a Land Rover camper out of like an accordion. Just a sort of bunch of
accordion that's made out of wood.
A wooden accordion. Yeah, just a jumble of wooden shit. Yeah, it's great. They're really cool. Hopefully everybody gets an opportunity to see one in real life at one point. I've seen a couple in the UK. They're neat. It is kind of an interesting design. Apparently, I think I was listening to the Center Steer podcast, and I think Dixon said that they were originally made for the military or something. Like that's where the company started, was like making those weird pop-ups for the military or something.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I know that at one time they did have a military contract, and there were military Carawagons like as officers' vehicles or something like that. Yeah,
that's so weird.
Silly.
It feels like something out of like a Blackadder episode.
Yeah, as an enemy combatant, you probably wouldn't be intimidated. Look, their officers are driving that. We're good.
We're fine.
We're just gonna be.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, we're gonna be just fine. We're gonna be just fine. Well, that's cool. Well, what else was going on there? What other cool stuff did you guys see?
Or the adventure rides.
Adventure rides?
Adventure rides. I mean, they were really probably mostly for children, but I went on one anyways because it was for charity. And
yeah, that's the jungle ride. We talked about that a little bit, but it was cool. So tell us the first person, as a participant.
So, I mean, it was pretty fun. I've been before. I'm not going to lie. I do like going, even though I'm not a child. And so
I don't think, now let me interrupt you just briefly. I don't think it's necessarily for children in that sense. I think it's the proceeds are for children, but when I went, it was mostly adults participating.
It was a mix, but most of the adults had children with them when I went.
I see.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's not like, I don't know, some of the other events we've gone to, all three of us, where they'll have like the newer cars out, that they're trying to, sell, kind of show off the skills of the new, or the, capabilities of new cars and that kind of stuff. It is nothing like that. These are just people in the local club with their cars there, giving rides, and that's on the BMX track, or is it BMX? Motocross? Motocross track, and it's very it's a lot more technical than you might think. Like there's these very sharp curves and sharp little hills, and I was really impressed actually. I rode around in an old Range Rover with Dean, but I think it might have been his dad's car. Do you know Alan? I don't know anybody's names.
Alan Minner. He's a Pacific Coast Rover Club member from Washington State.
And Dean's a little younger, and he was really nice and tootled around in this Range Rover on these crazy little hills and whoops, and it was really fun. Just a little. It's nice to. You're standing around all day at a car show, right? Yeah. It's nice to just get bopped around a little bit in the dirt.
Yeah, do some bopping. Yeah, exactly. That's super fun. I wish more car shows had, I mean, the ones that we do down here, just being in LA and stuff, there's not nearly as much space. There are a lot of park and look at parked cars and talk to, old dudes that own those parked cars. But I like a meet that has some, action going on. Certainly the ones in the UK, they have major Land Rover and going on trialsing and stuff, RTB course stuff all the time. So that's pretty cool. Well, if you haven't made it to the All British Field Meet up in Portland, September is only a year away. So start preparing now, and maybe we'll get there. Maybe I'll get there next year. I would love to go. I was really into the photos and stuff this weekend. It looked great. We're going to put a lot of that up on the Instagram. I think we've got the balance thing up there already. So make sure you check that out. And speaking of checking things out, we are finally ready to unleash onto the world, if you will, the Underpowered Hour on the Road series, available on YouTube. The first in this series is going to be Liza and I's trip to the UK, and we do a north to south, basically across the entire country, and visit with all of your favorite Land Rover people.
Big personalities.
Big personalities. We've got them all. We've got all your favorites. We've got Duncan Barber. We've got Nick Dimbleby. We've got Nick Rogers. We've got Michael Bishop. We've got Phil Bashel. And finally, we end up with our good friend Bob Ives. And more importantly, I get to go drive the Combine with Dan Ives, which is really matters, right?
That's
farming.
Cool. That's probably the coolest
Helped
thing.
out with some farming. I think I made a real impact there.
Did you help out with some farming?
I increased the yield, I think, quite a bit. So it was good. Dan and I did some serious farming. But yeah, check that out on the old YouTube. If you're not a subscriber to our YouTube yet, please do head over there. We have so much great YouTube content coming. Of course, we have Carlos's 101 forward control that we just went and got from Northern California. We have the ongoing G4 Freelander saga, and there are some exciting details on that.
That's the longest expedition in Land Rover history, is just your project getting that going.
On just getting that going. And yeah, we've got some great stuff coming up. Liza and Jenna are going to do some content around the Rebelle. Ike and I are going to do Land Rover Trophy, and we'll be doing a bunch of content around that, as well as at Destination Defender coming up in November. So we're making a real push into the old YouTube. So subscribe now, get in there early. It's still free because, I don't know. You never know. It's Google. They might make it expensive at some point. So jump on in there, check that out. We definitely appreciate your subscriptions. Some of this stuff is available early and is available in some cases exclusively on our Patreon. So if you're not a Patreon member, please head over there and sign up for that. We've got some wonderful Barber Toy books going out to Patreon subscribers that won that Patreon-only contest. So lots of opportunities to do more there, interact with Ike and myself, Jenna, Liza, occasionally Linus. And so with that, Jenna, it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to having you here this week. Ike, it's always a pleasure. Looking forward for you to just continue to be where you are this week.
Thanks.
And we'll see you both next week.
All right.
Thanks.
See you on the trail. Take care.
Ta.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Barris, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Barris. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.